Hello, I'm Pam Butler, Communications Volunteer for AARP Louisiana. Thank you for joining us for this special Facebook event. AARP has been working to promote the health and well-being of older Americans for more than 60 years through information, advocacy, and resources. Part of that work includes helping to improve the places we live so we can thrive no matter our age, ability, or background. We all want to live in places where there are transportation options. Housing is affordable and meets our needs as we age. There's access to public spaces and the outdoors. And there are ways to stay connected with our loved ones and neighbors. Ultimately, our vision is for a future in which communities, urban, suburban, and rural, are great places for everyone. AARP is doing this work nationwide, including here in Louisiana. Today, I am pleased to share exciting news. 7 Louisiana organizations are receiving grants through the AARP Community Challenge, our Livable Communities Grant Program. These are part of a $3.6 million investment being awarded among 310 grantees across the country. Today, we're joined by 2 of Louisiana's grantees to share more about their projects and answer your questions. So I'd like to introduce our special guests. We have Caleb Holmes, transit organizer for Delta chapter of the Sierra Club, and Dr. Samuel Tolbert Jr., senior pastor of Greater St. Mary Community Development Foundation. Dr. Tolbert, Caleb, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Caleb, let's start with you. Let's get started learning more about the project. Tell us about your Community Challenge Grant Project.
Thank you, Pam. And once again, my name is Caleb Holmes. I'm the transit organizer for Sierra Club Delta chapter. Our specific project focuses on East Baton Rouge Parish, specifically the northern parts of East Baton Rouge Parish. So the neighborhoods of Scotlandville, Monticello, Baker, parts of Olive Central, and Zachary, Louisiana. Specifically, our project looked at this community as being a community that has a greater proportion of 50 plus residents, as well as residents who are oftentimes in communities that get forgotten about when it comes to transit options. What we want to do is we want to ensure that between the Capital Area Transit System, also known as CATS, the 2 major universities in the parish, and any other organizations focused in and around transit or economic development are actually working together in synchronization to ensure that this population actually gets the fundamental right and the fundamental need that all humans have, and that is to move about the world that they are living in. Specifically, we're looking at this project because when people are actually listened to with dignity and respect, you can create systems that actually work for people and aren't just essentially there, but they're not actually usable for the community. So we want to have a master plan for the North East Baton Rouge community so that way people can get around, live a decent life, have recreation, employment, and just like the AARP mission to have a good life, specifically for residents 50 and older, but for the entire community as well.
So what are your plans for this fall and beyond, and how can people get involved?
Thank you. So this fall, we will be first, as you alluded to earlier, one of our most exciting things is what we like to call the typical day on transit. And that is where we will, specifically myself, but of course, all our volunteers will be there as much as possible, where we're actually going to take an entire day and do as many people do, because that is essentially the services that they have, and that is use our transit system in East Baton Rouge Parish for an entire day to fully grasp what is going on. Specifically, some of our some of our volunteers, of course, do live in the North Baton Rouge area. And like I said earlier, the only way that we can fully invest, and the only way that we can fully rectify some of the issues that we have is that people who are closest to the problem are going to be closest to the solution, and the only way to do that is to actually be there live and in color. The second thing is that a lot of our volunteers, of course, range from the late teens to some of our volunteers in our chapter are 70 plus. But we are always looking forward to meeting new people, having new people. And because of that, we will have a multitude of in person and virtual events that will allow other people to come in, have their voice heard, and actually have a community that works for them, and not just have plans that are just kind of thrown to them and saying, "Hey, we did something for you," or "Here's a plan, but we didn't consult anyone," and you should just be happy that you're getting something. So, in addition to that, we will be having we will be having other events, meeting with like I said, the Capital Area Transit System, as well as the Council on Aging, to make sure that everyone is respected, heard, and understood, because that is the only way that we're going to get real solutions to help real people.
And one more question, Caleb. As we look to the future, how do you hope this project will help strengthen the community?
Thank you for that. I think that's the most important question. And when we looked at our project, we saw that we could actually do, at the very least, we could do two things with the same amount of energy and time. The first is actually improving the health of our community. This specific community has a lot of unhealthy factors in it. North Baton Rouge has a lot of chemical plants in it, and the air quality is not necessarily the best. And this is often impacting residents who don't have the kind of political and economic power that they need. And because of those power that they don't have, they also don't have the ability to get around in the most functional and efficient way. I'm sure, as all of you guys know, it is hot, right? And this is Louisiana, so the hot is just a little bit different because it's hot and it's humid. And this is a community where it has been completely disinvested from a transit perspective, and we want to ensure that this community, one, gets the attention and the investment that it deserves, but two, that it actually centers people who have traditionally not been looked at, not been consulted to, and are just kind of thrown off. So we want to make sure that the most basic human need and right, and that is to get around the world, is actually met in a clean, healthy, and efficient way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Caleb. Now let's learn more about the project that Dr. Tolbert is leading. Dr. Tolbert, tell us about your Community Challenge grant project.
Well, thank you very much for having me. And I want to thank AARP on behalf of the Greater St. Mary Community Development Foundation for the grant. As you know, Southwest Louisiana has been inundated with natural disasters. We had Hurricane Laura, Hurricane Delta, an ice storm, a flood, in the midst of dealing with COVID in about an 18-month period. And all of those were federally declared natural disasters. And one of the things that really hurt us was back after Laura, Southwest Louisiana was without electricity and in for most parts, internet for some 30 days at least. And so what our grant would do, since we're in the area of hurricane relief and hurricane recovery for residents in our low to moderate income communities, is allow us to get back up and running quickly so that we can service those who have been affected by these natural disasters. So I think that having access to generators and internet access will all put us in a position to help people who have to file FEMA applications, who need to get in touch with their insurance companies, who in some cases are trying to get in touch with relatives, and of course, in some cases, be a cooling station for people who have nowhere to go, where they can have a cool spot with refreshments so that they can take care of their personal needs for them and their families.
So what are your plans for this fall and beyond, and how can people get involved?
Okay, so for this fall, we plan to continue to recruit volunteers. We've been doing that over the years, and not only recruit volunteers, but to train volunteers who will be willing to come back into an area that has been devastated by a natural disaster and began to swing into service in helping others. So really, it's recruitment and training the volunteers in our partnership with the American Red Cross, the National Baptist Convention of America Home Mission Board, and the Lot Carey Baptist Foreign Mission Convention, and their work in home missions. So we're going to be recruiting and training people, preparing people in case there is a natural disaster.
And as we look to the future, how do you hope this project will help strengthen the community?
I think it will help strengthen our community in that people will have a sense of hope, mental stability, because some people mentally, they just don't know what to do mentally and emotionally when a storm comes. By us being active in the community and provided with the resources and the equipment that we need to act in the midst of a disaster, people will see us as a hub of hope, and they will have somewhere to go in the case of these disasters, knowing that we're there to help them and that we can be up and operating.
Well, before we wrap up, Caleb, Dr. Tolbert, is there anything else you'd like to share about your projects that I didn't give you a chance to in my questions?
Well, I would just like to add, as it relates to our project, I would like to see our project expanded at some point because we have other partners that we work with, other local faith-based organizations, churches, and others that can also assist us with different aspects. For example, if we could have one church doing the feeding, another church being the information center and the cooling center, it allow us to service more people and kind of get people to the right area so that they can get the services they need, other than being in long lines and having to wait to access computers and food and relief supplies.
Mm-hmm. Caleb, anything else to add?
Yes, thank you, Pam. The biggest thing that I would like to add is that for our project for North Baton Rouge, we want to serve as a model. We want other places, other communities that look similar to ours to say, wow, if Baton Rouge can do something like that, we surely can do so. So we want to be on the forefront of this. And personally, I'm going to make sure all of my power that we're going to actually get something done for North Baton Rouge that's going to benefit people. So this is a really exciting time.
And I just want to say again, thank you all very much for this partnership, because without this partnership, we would not have this additional capacity that we're not going to have because we have this partnership with AARP in Southwest Louisiana.
Well, it's going to be hard for me to top that, so I won't even try. So Dr. Tolbert and Caleb, I want to thank you again for sharing this information. I want to also congratulate you for being awarded this grant. And I really appreciate your passion and enthusiasm that you bring to these projects. For our audience, I want to thank you again for joining us. And to learn more about these community challenge projects and others around the country, you can visit AARP's Livable Communities Grant website at www.aarp.org/community-challenge. Thank you again for joining us, and stay safe.
Thank you. Hope you're well, Caleb.